Alex Pereira does it again. This man is the savior of the UFC, headlining UFC 307 versus Khalil Rountree Jr., which is absolutely an amazing fight. But how did Khalil Rountree Jr. get the shot? That is absolutely crazy. He just beat Anthony Smith in his last fight, and Magomed Ankalaev didn't get that shot. We're going to jump right into this full card breakdown. Other fights that were announced: Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena is the co-main event for that card. Also, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fighting Joaquin Buckley, Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland, Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev, which was announced a while ago, which we knew was happening. This card is absolutely amazing, and let's jump right into the video talking about this card, breaking it down. But how did Alex Pereira get the main event against Khalil Rountree Jr.? That is the question we want to ask. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe because so you guys can stay updated with the latest MMA news and content. And then please go down there and hit the subscribe button so you can help us reach 1,000 subscribers very, very soon. But let's jump right into the video talking about Alex Pereira and UFC 307. So the main event of UFC 307 is a shocker to everyone who is in the UFC community. It is none other than Alex Poatan Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. Now, Khalil Rountree Jr. is a very exciting fighter. I love watching Khalil Rountree Jr. fight. He just fought Anthony Smith at UFC at the last event in UFC December of last year. No, it was the second to last event. It was headlined by Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez, and he was the co-main event of that event, fighting Anthony Smith, which he dismantled Anthony Smith under 2 rounds. But he is now fighting Alex Pereira, who is a world-class kickboxer and a world-class fighter. And this fight, I don't think is going to be that close. I'm a massive Khalil Rountree Jr. fan. I want to preface that, but I don't think this fight is going to be necessarily close. But Alex Pereira does get the fight against Rountree. Alex Pereira is the UFC just GOAT at this point. He just full fight anytime you want to. I saw a fight today that he's the second most active fighter in the UFC currently, only behind none other than someone else on this card, Kevin Holland, and we'll get into Kevin Holland a little bit later. But Khalil Rountree Jr. steps in versus Alex Pereira, which is a good fight, but how did Magomed Ankalaev not get the shot? He is fighting Alexander Rakic at UFC 308. I think as the featured, no, he's not even the featured bout of that fight because that's Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. I don't even know, but Magomed must have something to where he cannot fight in anywhere else other than the Middle East, where he's fighting in Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia, or he just doesn't want to fight in the UFC in the United States. Now, the other reason that I think that this could possibly be a case is I know versus Khalil Rountree Jr. and Alex Pereira, someone's getting knocked out in that fight. No doubt in my mind, one person's going to sleep in that fight, and that is going to be an absolute banger to watch. But versus Magomed Ankalaev, that might be a very, very, very hard fight for Alex Pereira to do, and this could be the UFC protecting Alex Pereira a little bit because Khalil Rountree Jr. is a very favorable matchup. Now, Khalil Rountree Jr. could 100% put Alex Pereira to sleep. He's got that Muay Thai style. He's a great striker. He's got so much power. He just swings his arms. He's an absolute beast in that light heavyweight division. But Alex Pereira is on a different level, and I see Khalil Rountree Jr. getting slapped in that fight pretty early on, possibly in the first or second round. But Alex Pereira is one of the best fighters in the UFC. We all love him in the sport, but I still don't believe that Magomed Ankalaev got chipped that hard. There's got to be something else behind the scenes that really deterred him from taking this fight. But ultimately, that's just the case. Magomed's going to fight Rakic at 308, and Pereira is going to get Rountree at 307. But let's jump into the co-main event, Juliana Pena versus Raquel Pennington. Now, I'm not really that excited for this fight. We all know that Pennington was going to defend her title against Pena, probably, unless if it was going to be Amanda Nunes who came back. But Pena's getting the fight. She last fought, I think, at UFC 277 versus Amanda Nunes, where she lost the title, and she has not fought since. And she's getting that title against Raquel Pennington, which I think is going to be an absolute sleep fest. I'm going to pull out my blanket, get very comfortable chilling right there, and just, roll up and, just take a quick nap before that fight starts. So I'm not really that hyped for the co-main event. I think that it's going to be a good fight. I don't watch the women's fights that much. I know I stayed up for Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva, and that fight I was genuinely just hoping would end very soon. But ultimately, that's the co-main event of the fight. I think it's a fight that needed to happen, and sooner rather than later, that fight was going to get scheduled, unless if it was going to be Kayla Harrison. But she is also on this card. too, and we can talk about that a little later or in another video. But the next fight I want to get into is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. This fight was rumored for this card a while ago, so I'm actually happy that this fight is coming to fruition. Joaquin Buckley has fought twice this year. He fought really close proximity to one another. He fought at the end of March in UFC Atlantic City, and then he fought in the mid of May at UFC St. Louis, which is his hometown. He fought Vicente Luque and Nursultan Ruzaboyev at UFC St. Louis, who Ruzaboyev is a great fighter. He's 6'5", an absolute massive welterweight in that division, so he's a great fighter, and that was a great win for Buckley. Looked really great versus Ruzaboyev, but Stephen Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley is a fight that Buckley could possibly win. Stephen Thompson's getting up there in age, and I do think that hunger is starting to deteriorate a little bit, but this is a fight for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson that is going to be fun. He can 100% win that fight. This is a lot like the Kevin Holland fight, where Kevin Holland actually did beat Joaquin Buckley a long time ago, TKOing him pretty easily in that fight, but Stephen Thompson dismantled Kevin Holland. I think if this fight stays on the feet, I think Stephen Thompson has a great chance on beating Joaquin Buckley, but Joaquin has got to make this fight dirty, and that's something that is going to truly be a fun one to watch. Next off, we got Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev. This is a fight to two people that have been talking so much. This was the first fight added to UFC 307, and I do think that Aljamain Sterling will get the win over Movsar Evloev, but I think that this is a very fun fight to watch. I think the grappling styles of both of these fighters is going to really make this a striking component, and it's going to show which person is going to have the better striking in that, the best striking in this respective department. Now, I think Aljamain Sterling's striking is a lot more tested. It's still not the cleanest, but I think it's a lot more tested than Movsar Evloev's is. So I do think that Aljamain Sterling is going to get the win, but that's so far away, and I really haven't done any research into the fight. And I do think that it is going to be a fun fight, but I just haven't done my respect to really dive in and get a full breakdown for you guys in that. Now, Kevin Holland was originally slated to fight Chris Curtis, and that fight, Chris Curtis pulled out with a foot injury, and it said he's going to return probably in December to January this or next year. So Roman Dolidze stepped up to fight Kevin Holland on this card. I think this is a great fight. I think this is a very hard fight for Kevin Holland to win because Roman Dolidze is a very big, strong grappler. And Roman Dolidze is a big 185er, and Kevin Holland's kind of a mid-sized to smaller 185er. So I think Kevin Holland's going to have a very hard time with this fight. I think I got Roman Dolidze winning. Now, I want to see Kevo get a big win, but I do think that Roman is going to go in there and wrestle his way to a decision, which ultimately I think is going to be the way that fight ends. Roman's not really a submission artist. We looked at his fight with Anthony Smith, and that was a very big bore fest, but, you know, it's something that possibly could happen. But I think that UFC 307 is shaping out to be a very big and fun card. Those fights of Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland could be fun. The Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling fight could be fun. The Buckley versus Wonderboy fight is definitely going to be a fun one. And 100% that main event is going to be a banger with Khalil Rountree Jr. and Alex Pereira. And I truly think the UFC made the main event that for either two different reasons. One, Magomed Ankalaev couldn't fight during that time for some apparent reason, or they wanted to give him another fight with Rakic, which doesn't make any sense, but I guess could really be a point to prove him in his title shot again. I mean, Johnny Walker is not a great fighter in that middleweight or in that heavyweight division, so giving it someone like Rakic could be a better matchup to really show that he is the number one contender. But you know, I thought Magomed was there for it, but Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. is an amazing fight. Someone's getting slept in that fight 100%, and I got Alex Pereira sleeping Khalil Rountree Jr. pretty easily. But like I said, UFC 307 is a very fun card. I still don't know how Magomed didn't get the fight, but I think that I am very happy with it so far. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comments, talking about Khalil Rountree Jr. getting the title shot over someone like Magomed Ankalaev, or even a rematch with Jamal Hill. I know Jamal Hill has been incredibly salty about this fight happening, and I think it could possibly be rightfully so, since Khalil Rountree pulled out of his fight at UFC 303 with Hill because of a pop for PEDs, which I do think was unintentional from Khalil Rountree Jr., but it's a fight that could possibly happen, and I think that Alex Pereira versus Khalil is going to be the people's main event and the most fun and exciting fight of the year possibly. You got two strikers with dynamite in their hands going into have an absolute war where one of them is 100% going to get knocked out. And top to bottom, the card is actually pretty decent. If you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for listening to my reactions. And if you want to stay up to date with the latest MMA content daily, please go down below and hit the post notifications. It 100% helps to see get views on all the videos. And if you guys want to help us reach 1,000 subscribers, every single subscription means so much. So please go down there and hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.